My wife sold my motorcycles on my retirement day, so I retired her from being my wife. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Holy shit, guys! I've been lurking on this sub for years, but never thought I'd have a story worth posting. Well, buckle up because what happened to me is freaking insane, and the revenge I got was even better. This happened over the past year, and just reached its conclusion last month. I'm still processing everything, but figured you degenerates would appreciate a good justice story. Fair warning, this is going to be long as hell, but stick with me because the payoff is incredible. Also, throwaway account for obvious reasons. Some details changed, but the core story is 100% real. Let me start with some background so you understand the full scope of this cluster freak. I'm 58 years old, been working construction my entire adult life. Started when I was 19 as a general laborer, making $8.50 an hour, busting my ass carrying materials and digging ditches. Worked my way up over 39 freaking years to become a senior project manager for one of the biggest commercial construction companies in our state. Last few years, I was pulling down around $98,000, which isn't rich, but it's damn good money for a guy who never went to college. I've been obsessed with motorcycles since I was a kid. My old man bought me a beat-up Honda dirt bike when I was 12, and I've been riding ever since. There's nothing like the feeling of being on two wheels. The freedom, the power, the pure adrenaline rush. It's like meditation and extreme sports rolled into one. Over the years, I built up a collection of 4 classic bikes that were my absolute pride and joy. 1973, Honda CB 750, the bike that started the superbike era. Bought it in 2009 for $3,200. Spent about $4,800 restoring it to showroom condition. New paint, rebuilt engine, chrome everywhere. Worth probably $12,000 now. 1981, Kawasaki KZ1000, pure speed demon from the early 80s. Found it in a barn in 2011, completely disassembled. Took me 2 years to rebuild it from the ground up. Into it for about $5,500 total, worth around $8,500. 1986, Yamaha FZR 600, my track day bike. Lightweight, fast as hell, handles like a dream. Bought it running but ugly in 2013 for $2,800. Spent another $3,200 making it perfect, probably worth $7,000. 1969, Triumph Bonneville, my baby, the crown jewel of the collection. Found it as a complete basket case in 2015, just boxes of rusty parts and a frame. Spent 3 freaking years rebuilding every single component. Knew everything. Engine, transmission, wheels, brakes, electrical, paint. I'm into it for about $8,700 in parts alone, not counting hundreds of hours of labor. Easily worth $15,000, maybe more to the right buyer. These weren't just motorcycles to me. They were works of art, pieces of history, and the result of decades of passion and craftsmanship. Every weekend for years, I'd be out in my garage with these bikes, cleaning, tuning, modifying, perfecting. It was my therapy, my hobby, and my retirement plan all rolled into one. Now let me tell you about my ex-wife Jessica, because understanding what kind of person she is crucial to this story. We met in 2014 at some bullshit charity event my company dragged me to. I was 49, she was 25. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Huge red flag. But Jesus Christ, this woman was absolutely gorgeous. 5 feet 7 inches, blonde, looked like she stepped out of a magazine. Had this way of looking at you like you were the most interesting person in the world. I was coming off a messy divorce from my first wife. Different story, she was actually a decent person. We just grew apart. I was lonely, vulnerable, and thinking with my dick instead of my brain. Jessica seemed perfect. Sweet, attentive, laughed at all my jokes, acted like she was fascinated by my work and my bikes. She claimed to work in marketing for some tech startup downtown. Made it sound like she was climbing the corporate ladder, had big ambitions, was financially independent. All bullshit, as I found out later. We started dating and she was amazing at first. Always available when I wanted to see her. Never complained about my long work hours. Seemed genuinely interested in learning about motorcycles. She'd come out to the garage while I was working and ask questions, bring me sandwiches, act like the perfect supportive girlfriend. After about 4 months, she started having problems with her apartment. Landlord was selling, rent was going up, roommate was moving out, always something. So like an idiot, I invited her to move in with me. She jumped at the chance. That's when things started changing, but so gradually, I didn't notice at first. The job at the startup ended when the company ran out of funding. Then she got another job at a marketing agency that lasted 3 months before she quit because her boss was impossible to work with. Then, another job for 2 months before she was laid off due to budget cuts. Every job ended the same way. It was never her fault, always some external circumstance beyond her control. And somehow, she never quite managed to find the next job before her savings ran out. Guess who picked up the slack? But she was great in bed, didn't complain about my hobbies, and made me feel young again. So I kept making excuses for her. She's going through a rough patch. The job market is tough. She'll get back on her feet soon. Classic sucker behavior. We got married in Vegas in 2015 after dating for less than a year. She pushed hard for it, talking about how she wanted to build a life together and be a real team. I was so pussy-whipped I didn't even think about a prenup. Biggest freaking mistake of my life. After we got married, Jessica basically stopped even pretending to look for work. There was always some excuse. She was exploring different career options, or taking time to figure out what she really wanted to do, or my personal favorite, focusing on making our home perfect. Meanwhile, I'm busting my ass 50 to 60 hours a week on construction sites, dealing with contractors, city inspectors, weather delays, all the bullshit that comes with managing million-dollar projects. I'd come home exhausted and sore, and she'd be there fresh from yoga class or lunch with friends, talking about her plans to redecorate the living room. But here's the thing. She was smart about it. She never demanded anything outright. She'd just make suggestions. Wouldn't it be nice if we updated the kitchen? I saw the cutest dress, but it's a little expensive. My friend Sarah is going to Europe. It looks so fun. And like a freaking idiot, I'd usually cave. Because I loved her, because I wanted her to be happy, because she made me feel like a successful man who could provide for his woman. Classic manipulation. And I fell for it every time. The worst part was how she treated my bikes. At first, she acted interested, but over time she started making little comments. You spend a lot of time out there. Do you really need 4 motorcycles? It's so loud when you start them up. I should have seen the writing on the wall, but I was blind to it. Thought I had the perfect setup. Beautiful younger wife, nice house, cool hobby, good job. I was living the dream, or so I thought. Then March 18th, 2024 happened. My retirement day. The day that was supposed to be the beginning of the best chapter of my life. Instead, it became the day I learned who my wife really was. March 18th started out perfect. My last day after 39 years in construction. The company threw me a nice little party. Cake, speeches, presentations, the whole 9 yards. My boss gave me a watch and talked about how I'd helped build half the commercial buildings in our city. Felt good, you know? Like all those years of hard work meant something. I had it all planned out. Tomorrow morning, I was going to fire up the Triumph and take a long ride through the mountains to celebrate. Had this whole route mapped out, back roads through the state forest, stop at this little diner I'd been meaning to try, maybe hit a few scenic overlooks. Perfect way to kick off retirement. The pension wouldn't start for another month, but I had plenty in savings and my 401k was solid. Not rich, but comfortable enough to enjoy my golden years without stressing about money. Finally gonna have time to really ride my bikes, maybe do some long-distance touring, hit up some motorcycle rallies I'd been too busy to attend. I was feeling so good during the drive home. Windows down, music up, thinking about all the freedom I was about to have. No more 6 a.m. start times. No more dealing with asshole subcontractors. No more standing in the rain, waiting for concrete trucks. Just me, my bikes, and the open road. Pulled into my driveway around 4:30 p.m. and noticed Jessica's BMW wasn't there. Figured she was out shopping or at one of her yoga classes or whatever. Didn't think much of it. First thing I always did when I got home was check on my bikes. Had them parked in the garage under custom covers I'd bought. Kept them clean and maintained even when I couldn't ride them much due to work. They were like 4 beautiful pieces of art sitting there waiting for me. I hit the garage door opener and walked in, already smiling thinking about tomorrow's ride. Then my brain just stopped working for a second. Empty. The garage was freaking empty except for Jessica's exercise equipment and some storage boxes. 4 parking spots where my bikes should have been. Just oil stains on the concrete. My tools were still there, my workbench, all my spare parts and maintenance supplies. But the bikes were gone. I literally thought I was losing my mind. Started walking around the garage like maybe 4 motorcycles could somehow be hiding behind a storage cabinet. Checked the side yard, thinking maybe someone moved them for some reason. Nothing. Then the panic hit. Someone had broken in and stolen them. Had to be. These were classic bikes worth serious money, exactly the kind of thing thieves target. I was about to call 911 when I heard Jessica's car pulling up. She comes walking in through the garage carrying shopping bags from Nordstrom Saks and some expensive makeup store, humming like she didn't have a care in the world. She was practically glowing, had this satisfied smile on her face like she'd just accomplished something major. Jessica, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. Where are my motorcycles? She didn't even have the decency to look guilty. Just set down her bags and said, "Oh, those old things? I sold them. I swear to God." For a second, I thought I misheard her. You, what? I sold them. Got a really good deal, too. $18,000 cash. I already put a deposit down on that kitchen remodel we've been talking about. We had never talked about any kitchen remodel. Our kitchen was perfectly fine. I'd updated it myself just 3 years ago with new cabinets, granite countertops, stainless appliances. It looked great and functioned perfectly. But more importantly, she had just told me she sold $35,000 worth of motorcycles for $18,000. My retirement celebration bikes, my pride and joy, my life's passion, gone. Jessica, I said, and I could hear my voice starting to shake. You sold my motorcycle collection? Without asking me? On my retirement day? She actually rolled her eyes, like I was being unreasonable for being upset about this. Oh, please, Mike. Don't be so dramatic. You barely rode those things anyway. They were just taking up space in the garage collecting dust. Besides, you're retired now. You need to start acting your age instead of trying to be some kind of rebel without a cause. Barely rode them? I rode them every weekend, weather permitting. I'd planned my entire retirement around those bikes. And acting my age? What the freak did that even mean? Jessica, I rode those bikes constantly. I've been planning motorcycle trips for my retirement. Those bikes were worth at least $35,000, probably more. You sold them for half their value. Look, what's done is done, she said, waving her hand dismissively. We can use the money for things we actually need, like updating this house so it doesn't look like some old bachelor pad. Maybe get some decent furniture, redo the master bathroom, make this place look like successful people live here. Successful people? I'd worked my ass off for 4 decades to pay for this house, and it was beautiful. I'd done most of the renovation work myself, and it looked like something out of a home improvement magazine. But apparently, that wasn't good enough for her. Who did you sell them to? I asked. Some guy I found online. Look, I don't want to argue about this. It's done, and it's for the best. You can find other hobbies that are more appropriate for a man your age. Other hobbies? More appropriate? I felt like I was talking to a stranger. This wasn't the woman I'd married, or maybe it was, and I'd just been too blind to see it. I went inside and immediately checked our bank account online. Sure enough, there was an $18,000 deposit from yesterday. But what made my blood boil was that she'd already spent $3,800 of it. Nordstrom, Sephora, some high-end salon, a spa, and something called luxury lifestyle consulting for $500. The money from selling my life's work was already being pissed away on her shopping spree. That night, she acted like nothing had happened. Cooked dinner, chatted about her plans for redecorating, mentioned wanting to take a trip to Italy now that we have some extra cash. She was in an amazing mood, happier than I'd seen her in months. I barely said a word. Just sat there thinking about my triumph, wondering where it was, who was riding it, whether they understood what they had, thinking about all the rides I'd never take, all the rallies I'd miss, all the memories I'd never make. I didn't sleep at all that night, just laid there staring at the ceiling, listening to Jessica snore peacefully beside me, planning my next move. Because if she thought she could destroy my passion and face no consequences, she was about to learn how wrong she was. The next morning, Jessica left for her yoga class like it was any other day, kissed me goodbye, told me to try to relax and enjoy retirement, then drove off in her BMW that I'd been making payments on for the past 3 years. The second her car was out of sight, I got to work. First, I needed to find out exactly what had happened to my bikes. I went through Jessica's laptop, which she'd carelessly left open on the kitchen counter. No password protection because she never thought I'd snoop through her stuff. Big mistake. What I found in her email made me physically sick. There were email chains going back to January. 4 months of planning this behind my back. She'd been corresponding with someone named Derek who ran a vintage motorcycle shop 2 towns over. She'd been sending him pictures of my bikes, getting quotes, planning the entire sale without my knowledge. The emails were absolutely brutal to read. January 15th, Jessica to Derek. Hi, I'm looking to sell my husband's motorcycle collection. He's obsessed with these stupid things and spends more time with them than he does with me. I need them gone ASAP. Attached are photos. January 18th, Derek to Jessica. These are some beautiful bikes, especially that Triumph. In good condition, you're looking at around $35,000 to $40,000 for the collection. Are you sure your husband wants to sell? January 18th, Jessica to Derek. Trust me, he wants to sell. He just doesn't know it yet. What's the fastest you can move them? And honestly, I don't need top dollar. I just need them gone before he retires and becomes even more insufferable. There were dozens more emails over the following months. Jessica pumping Derek for information about market values, asking about quick cash sales, even requesting that he come look at the bikes while I was at work to give her a firm offer. The worst email was from February 28th. Jessica to Derek. My husband retires next month, and I'm terrified he's going to want to spend all his time riding around like some pathetic old man trying to relive his youth. I can't stand the thought of being married to someone who thinks he's a badass biker when he's really just an aging construction worker. I deserve better than this life. Once I get rid of these money pits, I can finally start working on upgrading our lifestyle to match what I actually deserve. I had to read that one 3 times before it sank in. She wasn't just stealing my bikes, she was stealing my identity, my passion, everything that made retirement worth looking forward to. And she thought I was pathetic for having hobbies that brought me joy. But the emails kept going. In March, as my retirement date approached, the tone became more urgent. March 10th, Jessica to Derek. He retires next week and I'm running out of time. Can you come get them this Thursday while he's at work? I'll take $18,000 cash for the lot if you can move fast. March 10th, Derek to Jessica. $18,000 is pretty low for these bikes, especially the Triumph. That one alone is worth $15,000 easy. Are you sure about this? March 11th, Jessica to Derek. I'm sure. I just want them gone. He'll get over it eventually. Men always think their toys are more important than they really are. She'd sold $35,000 worth of motorcycles for $18,000 because she was impatient and wanted them gone immediately. She didn't care about the money. She cared about destroying something that was important to me. But the investigation was just getting started. I went through her phone next, and that's where I found the really damaging stuff. Text messages with her friends revealing her true feelings about our marriage. Jessica to friend Sarah. God, I can't wait until Mike retires. Finally gonna have time to work on him and fix all the things I hate about our life. Jessica to friend Melissa. Mike thinks he's going to spend retirement riding motorcycles like some kind of badass. I've got news for him. That shit ends now. Jessica to friend Karen. I married a construction worker thinking he had money, but he lives like he's broke. Time to make some changes around here. Then I found something that made my blood run cold. Screenshots of conversations with other men on dating apps. She wasn't physically cheating, as far as I could tell, but she was definitely shopping around, looking for someone with more money. Messages like, my husband is okay, but he's not really going anywhere financially. I married down and I'm starting to regret it. And, looking for someone who can actually afford the lifestyle I deserve. Tired of being married to a blue-collar guy. The woman I'd been supporting for 9 years, the woman I'd married and loved and provided for, had been planning to destroy my retirement and was actively looking for my replacement. But I needed more evidence. I called Derek's shop directly. Hey, this is Mike, Jessica's husband. I understand you bought some motorcycles from my wife yesterday? There was a long pause. Oh shit, man. I was wondering when you'd call. Look, your wife said you were completely on board with selling them, but something felt really off about the whole thing. What felt off? Well, she didn't know anything about the bikes. Couldn't answer basic questions about maintenance, modifications, history, nothing. And when I told her they were worth way more than $18,000, she just said she didn't care and wanted them gone fast. Plus, she seemed really nervous, like she was in a hurry to get it done before someone found out. Derek turned out to be a decent guy. He'd been in the vintage bike business for 20 years and had never seen anything like it. Most people who sell collections like this know what they have and want top dollar. Your wife acted like she was getting rid of garbage. Have you sold them yet? No, actually. I was planning to clean them up and flip them. But honestly, I felt bad about the whole thing. These bikes mean something to someone, you know? I can tell they were maintained with love. That's when I knew I had a chance to get them back. But first, I needed to understand the full scope of what Jessica had done to me over the years. I spent the next week doing a deep dive into our finances, and what I found was a pattern of financial abuse that had been going on for our entire marriage. Over the next week, while Jessica went about her normal routine of yoga classes and lunch dates, I systematically documented 9 years of financial manipulation and abuse. The evidence was overwhelming once I started looking for it. Employment history, or lack thereof. 2015 to 2016. Marketing coordinator at startup. Company folded after 4 months. She collected unemployment for 6 months without seriously looking for work. 2016, social media manager at local business, quit after 2 months, claimed boss was sexist. 2017, event coordinator at hotel, fired after 6 weeks for attendance issues. 2017 to 2018, unemployment for 8 months, claimed she was starting her own business, never materialized. 2018, part-time retail job, quit after 3 months because hours were inconvenient. 2019 to 2024, sporadic consulting work that never seemed to pay anything. In 9 years of marriage, Jessica had worked a total of maybe 18 months and contributed approximately $8,000 to our household. Meanwhile, I'd earned over $750,000 and paid for literally everything. Spending patterns. Going through credit card statements and bank records revealed a clear pattern. $2,800 per month average on personal shopping, clothes, makeup, salon treatments. $850 per month on gym, yoga, wellness memberships. $1,200 per month on dining out and entertainment, always expensive places. $500 a month on subscriptions, premium everything, streaming services, beauty boxes, lifestyle coaching. $3,000 to $5,000 every few months on seasonal wardrobe updates. Meanwhile, whenever I wanted to buy something for myself, tools, bike parts, work equipment, she'd make comments about being more careful with money and setting a budget. Control tactics. The more I analyzed our relationship, the clearer the manipulation became. Financial isolation. She'd gradually taken over bill paying and budget management, claiming she was better with details. This gave her complete visibility into our finances, while keeping me in the dark about her spending. Guilt and shame. Whenever I questioned expenses, she'd turn it around. I thought you wanted me to be happy. Don't you think I deserve nice things? You make good money? Why are you being so cheap? Future promises. Always had a plan to contribute more once I find the right opportunity, or after I finish this certification, or when my business takes off. The future contributions never materialized. Identity erosion. Gradual attacks on my interests and hobbies. Started subtle. You spend a lot of time in the garage, and escalated to direct criticism of my immaturity and inappropriate interests. Social manipulation. She'd positioned herself as the responsible one to our friends, talking about how she had to manage my spending and keep me grounded. Meanwhile, I was driving a 2018 Ford F-150 that I'd bought used and planned to keep for another decade. My luxury purchases were motorcycle parts and tools for my shop. The retirement sabotage. The motorcycle sale wasn't impulsive. It was the culmination of a long-term plan to reshape my retirement around her vision instead of mine. In emails I found from early 2023, she'd written to a friend. Mike thinks he's going to retire and become some kind of free spirit riding motorcycles around the country. That's not happening. I've got plans for our retirement, and they don't include him acting like a teenager. Another message. I'm going to use his retirement to finally get the lifestyle I signed up for. No more living like middle-class people when we have assets we could leverage. She'd been planning to push me into selling the house and buying something more expensive, using my retirement funds for her dream renovations, and essentially trapping me in debt so I'd have to keep working or at least stop wasting money on hobbies. The motorcycle sale was step one. Eliminate my passion so I'd be more focused on her priorities. The nuclear option. But the most damaging evidence was what I found in her browsing history and saved documents. Jessica had been researching divorce law, specifically looking up information about spousal support calculations, asset division in long-term marriages, how to maximize settlement amounts, whether retirement funds count as marital property. She'd even saved documents from a law firm's website titled Maximizing Your Divorce Settlement, a Guide for Wives. The woman had been planning to divorce me and take half of everything I'd worked for, right around the time I retired, and my earning potential dropped to zero. But she'd made one crucial mistake in her planning. She'd gotten greedy and jumped the gun with the motorcycle sale. Instead of waiting until after she'd filed for divorce, she'd committed theft and given me all the evidence I needed to destroy her. By the end of that week, I had a complete picture of who Jessica really was and what she'd been doing to me for 9 years. The motorcycle sale wasn't an isolated incident. It was just the first time she'd been bold enough to do something so obviously criminal that I couldn't ignore it. Now it was time to fight back. Armed with a mountain of evidence, I made my first call to Tom Rodriguez, the attorney we'd used for some business contracts at work. Tom was a sharp guy who specialized in family law and business litigation. Exactly what I needed. Mike, good to hear from you. How's retirement treating you? Not great, Tom. I need your help with something serious. I laid out the whole situation. The theft of my motorcycles, the forged documents. Jessica had to sign a title transfer for each bike, the pattern of financial abuse, and her apparent plans to divorce me and take half my assets. Jesus Christ, Mike. Your wife sold property worth $35,000 for $18,000 without your consent and forged your signature on the title transfers? That's just the beginning. I sent him everything I'd compiled. The emails, text messages, financial records, browsing history, all of it. Tom called me back 2 hours later. Mike, this is one of the most clear-cut cases of spousal theft and financial abuse I've ever seen. We've got her dead to rights on multiple felonies, and the evidence of her planning to defraud you in a divorce is just, wow. What are my options? Several. We can pursue criminal charges for theft, forgery, and fraud. We can file an emergency motion to freeze all marital assets. We can sue for recovery of the motorcycles or their full value. And honestly, with this evidence, if she tries to divorce you, she'll be lucky to get anything at all. The plan we developed was surgical. Phase 1. Recover the motorcycles immediately before Derek sold them. Phase 2. Confront Jessica with the evidence and gauge her response. Phase 3. Initiate asset protection and separation. Phase 4. Prepare for the nuclear option if she didn't cooperate. Tom drew up a formal demand letter for Derek, explaining that the motorcycles had been sold without proper authorization and demanding their immediate return. The letter made it clear that Derek could either return the bikes voluntarily or face charges for receiving stolen property. I drove to Derek's shop that afternoon with the letter and copies of all the forged title transfers. Derek took one look at the evidence and shook his head. Man, I feel terrible about this. I knew something was off when she couldn't answer basic questions about the bikes. Look, I haven't sold them yet, and I can tell these meant a lot to you. Let's work something out. Derek was actually more decent than he had to be. Since he'd paid $18,000 for the bikes, legally he was entitled to get his money back before returning them. But he could see how much they meant to me and made me a deal. Pay me back the $18,000 and they're yours. I'll eat the time and effort I put into evaluating them. I've been riding for 30 years. I know what it's like to lose a bike you love. Problem was, Jessica had already blown through $8,000 of the money. But I had a plan for that too. I called Jessica while I was standing in Derek's shop looking at my babies. Hey babe, I need to ask you something about the motorcycle money. What about it? She sounded immediately defensive. Well, I was thinking maybe we should put most of it into our savings account instead of spending it right away. You know, be responsible about retirement planning. I already told you, we're using it for the kitchen renovation. I've already put down deposits. How much have you spent so far? That's not really your concern. I'm managing our finances now. Perfect. She just admitted to spending money that wasn't hers, without authorization. And I had it recorded on my phone. Jessica, I need you to understand something. Those motorcycles weren't marital property. They were my separate property that I owned before we got married. You had no legal right to sell them. Long pause. What are you talking about? We're married. What's yours is mine. No, Jessica. That's not how it works. And forgery is a felony. I could hear the panic in her voice. Forgery? I didn't forge anything. You signed my name on 4 title transfers. That's forgery. And selling someone else's property without authorization is theft. I'm looking at my motorcycles right now, and I'm paying Derek his money back. Then you and I are going to have a very serious conversation about your future. I hung up and called Tom. Execute Phase 2. Freeze everything. Within 2 hours, Tom had filed emergency motions to freeze all of our joint accounts pending investigation of financial crimes. Jessica's credit cards were suspended, her access to our checking account was blocked, and a restraining order was placed on all major assets. I paid Derek the $18,000 from my personal checking account, the one Jessica didn't have access to, and loaded my bikes into a rented trailer. Driving home with my Triumph, Kawasaki, Honda, and Yamaha secured behind me felt like the first victory in what I knew was going to be a long war. Jessica was waiting in the driveway when I pulled up, and she was furious. What the hell did you do? My credit cards aren't working. The bank says our accounts are frozen. I protected myself from further theft. We need to talk. I parked the trailer in our driveway and started unloading my motorcycles one by one. Jessica stood there watching, her face cycling through confusion, anger, and what looked like the first hint of real fear I'd ever seen from her. You can't just freeze our accounts, she screamed. That's my money too. Actually, it's not. Most of that money came from my income, and you stole $18,000 of it by selling property that belonged to me. The courts tend to frown on that. I wheeled the Triumph into the garage, then came back for the Kawasaki. Jessica followed me around like an angry puppy, continuing to yell about her rights and how I was being unreasonable. Jessica, we need to have a serious conversation. Inside. Now. I led her to the kitchen table where I had printouts of everything waiting. The emails, the text messages, the financial records, all of it organized in neat little piles like a freaking prosecutor's case file. Her face went white when she saw it all laid out. You went through my private communications? I investigated theft of my property. Sit down. She sat, but she was still trying to maintain the offensive. This is ridiculous. I'm your wife, I can't steal from you. And those emails are taken out of context. I started reading her own words back to her. He's really just an aging construction worker. I deserve better than this life. Tired of being married to a blue-collar guy. I married down and I'm starting to regret it. Looking for someone who can actually afford the lifestyle I deserve. With each quote, she seemed to shrink a little more into her chair. So let me make sure I understand this correctly, I continued. You married me under false pretenses, pretending to be someone you're not. You've spent 9 years systematically draining our finances while contributing nothing. You've been emotionally cheating by shopping for my replacement. And then you decided to steal my most prized possessions and sell them for half their value to fund your shopping addiction. It's not like that. Then you plan to divorce me and take half of everything I've worked for my entire life. Did I miss anything? She was crying now, but they looked like tears of rage and frustration, not remorse. Fine. You want the truth? Yes. I'm disappointed in how our marriage turned out. I thought I was marrying someone successful, someone who could give me the life I wanted. Instead, I got stuck with some blue-collar worker who plays with motorcycles like a teenager. There it was. The mask finally came off completely. I've wasted 9 years of my life waiting for you to become someone worth being married to. Do you have any idea what it's like being introduced as the wife of a construction worker? My friends' husbands are doctors, lawyers, executives. What am I supposed to say when they ask what you do? You could say I'm a skilled professional who's worked his way up from nothing and built a good life for us. She laughed, actually laughed. A good life? Mike, look around. This house is nice, but it's not impressive. Your truck is practical, but it's not luxury. We go on vacation once a year to some cabin in the mountains instead of Europe or the Caribbean. I'm 34 years old, and I'm living like I'm married to a middle manager. So you decided to steal from me to upgrade your lifestyle? I decided to make some adult decisions about our future since you clearly weren't going to. Those motorcycles were a waste of money and space. The $18,000 I got for them is going toward things that actually matter, making this house look like successful people live here. What about the $8,000 you already spent on yourself? Her face flushed red. I deserve those things. Do you have any idea how hard it is being married to someone who doesn't understand that appearances matter? I have to work twice as hard just to look like I belong in the same social circles as my friends. That's when I realized I wasn't dealing with someone who'd made a mistake or had a moment of poor judgment. I was dealing with a sociopath who genuinely believed she was entitled to steal from me because she didn't think I was good enough for her. Here's what's going to happen, Jessica. You're going to pack a bag and leave this house tonight. You can stay wherever you want, but you're not staying here. You can't kick me out. This is my house too. Actually, it's not. The deed is in my name only because I bought it before we got married, and you've never contributed a penny toward the mortgage, taxes, or maintenance. That's not legal. I have rights. You have the right to remain silent, because anything you say can and will be used against you in divorce court. Tom has already filed the paperwork. You'll be served tomorrow. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You're divorcing me? Over some stupid motorcycles? No, Jessica. I'm divorcing you because you're a thief, a liar, and a fraud who's been using me for 9 years. The motorcycles were just the wake-up call I needed. This is insane. We can work through this. We can go to counseling. The time for working through things was before you committed felonies against me. Pack your shit and get out. She tried every manipulation tactic in the book. Tears, anger, threats, promises to change, attempts at seduction, claims that I was having a mental breakdown. None of it worked because I finally saw her for what she really was. 2 hours later, she was loading suitcases into her BMW while screaming about how she was going to take me for everything I'm worth in the divorce. I watched her drive away from the window of my garage, surrounded by my 4 beautiful motorcycles, and felt a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in years.